What does it take to deliver a seamless digital experience in a world where 41% of website visits still encounter friction? And I suspect you've felt some of that frustration on your own browsing sessions. And despite years of advancements in technology, we're still getting those problems. So today I'm joined by Jean-Christophe, or JC as his friends call him. He's the Chief Marketing Officer at Contentsquare, which is a leader in digital experience analytics. And Contentsquare is at the forefront of helping companies understand and optimize user behavior across web and mobile platforms. And they're serving over 1,300 enterprise customers and 1.3 million SMB websites around the world. And my guest today brings a wealth of expertise into the latest trends in customer experience, particularly in how AI is transforming the way that we all interact with technology. So in this conversation today, we're going to explore how AI is placing a crucial role in enhancing customer experiences, from sentiment analysis and virtual assistants to personalized content creation. And we'll also delve into the human challenges of building a customer experience-centered organization and the ongoing battle between personalization that we expect to standard and also privacy that we also expect to standard, and why a mobile-first approach is more important than ever, with 70% of web traffic now originating from mobile devices. How can companies strike the right balance between innovation and customer satisfaction in an increasingly complex digital landscape? Delivering daily content to 140,000 of you wonderful monthly listeners across the globe is no small feat. I don't want to take all the credit here because it wouldn't be possible without the backing of our dedicated sponsors and partners. Attention IT professionals, are you tired of juggling these multiple servers for secure file sharing? Integrated shared folders and email, plus a comprehensive REST API. Kiteworks simplifies your workflow. For administrators, you can experience unmatched functionality and integration that traditional MFT servers just can't touch. Step into the future of secure managed file transfer with Kiteworks by going to kiteworks.com to get started. That's kiteworks.com. And remember, Kiteworks is also FedRAMP moderate authorized. Thank you for your patience today. This is the moment you've been waiting for. It's time to welcome my guest onto the show. So it's time for me to take your ears on a little field trip all the way to New York City, where my guest is waiting to join us today. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Hello, Neil, and thanks for the invitation. I'm Jean-Christophe Pitié. You can call me JC. It's probably easier. And I am the Chief Marketing and Partner Officer at Contentsquare. I joined almost a year ago, last October, and after spending more than 2 decades at Microsoft. And as a fun fact, I'm saying that because I was an avid customer of Contentsquare at Microsoft, and I finally decided to join this small scale-up because I loved so much the product. I lived 10 years in Seattle on the West Coast with my 3 boys, and now I'm back in Paris and New York often, where our company is headquarters in the US. Some information on Contentsquare. We are an all-in-one digital experience analytics platform across web and mobile. So it means our goal is really to help customers, enterprise, small business customers, to improve conversion, retention, and customer journeys. So basically, what does that mean? We want our analytics platforms, to reveal the behavior, intent, feeling of users when they are browsing on your websites or mobile apps. And so how do we do that? We collect trillions of data points, anonymized, of course, from the websites, mobile apps you use, and we see where you click, where you swipe, where you type, where you scroll, and so on and so on. And then we can identify your customer experience, the frictions along your journey, what content you like, etc., etc. The company has about 1,300 enterprise brands working for us, mostly retailers, luxury brands, and we'll probably come back to that. And we have 1.3 million SMB and smaller websites across more than 100 countries. And some brands maybe I can use, I think it's important, based in the UK, where else? ASICS, Goldman Sachs, Royal Bank of Scotland, Louis Vuitton, it's a French brand, but it's very present in the UK. Nestle, I can keep going. It gives you an idea of the types of customers we have. And we are scaled up. So we've been founded in France by Jonathan Cherky, I think it was almost 12 years ago. And as I said, we are sitting in more than 100 countries, and we have offices in 12 countries.
Well, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. I can only imagine just how busy you are, spinning so many different plates, because we're recording this on the day of your live event in New York. For people listening around the world that can't attend, what are they missing out on? What's going on there today?
Yeah, thanks, Neil. We are very excited to be live in New York. It's our biggest flagship event. We are expecting more than 1,000 attendees in our beautiful glass house building in New York. And the theme this time is going to be around level up your CX game. So really, how do you level up and improve your customer experience? And we are going to have great testimonies from customers, our product experts. We're going to talk about AI, of course. So very, very excited.
Well, the speed of technological change is moving at such breakneck speed at the moment. So many conversations. Obviously, there's a lot about AI, etc. But I'm curious, from all those conversations you're having with 1.2, 1.3 million customers around the world, what are the key trends that you're seeing shaping the future of things like the customer experience in the digital retail space? Because it feels almost like a gold rush of sorts. There's a lot of opportunities here.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. There's a lot of opportunities. And I used to think, someone said, I could not find it, but someone said, we feel like everything is changing, but nothing is changing.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is that every company has been going through a profound transformation these past 25 years, digital transformation, blah, blah, blah. We've heard a lot about it. But at the end of the day, customers, you, me, what we still want, we want the best customer experience when we interact with a brand. That has not changed. The tech tools we use, means, devices have changed, but not what we really want, which is the best customer experience and an emotional connection. And so now if you go deeper beyond that, what do you see? We see 4 big trends which are shaping the future for the customer experience. One, and I'm sure we're going to come back to it later, but customers want personalization at scale. We've been talking a lot about it. But we also see more demand for privacy. And this one is a very interesting conundrum for the brands to solve. More personalization, more privacy. There is another one which, again, talked about a lot, omnichannel integration, what we call sometimes seamless cross-channel experience. You expect a consistent experience across devices, online, in-store, social media, and so on when you interact with a brand. That would be the second one. Third one, of course, and you mentioned it, is AI and how AI is going to change and power new customer experiences and remove frictions and make you more efficient. And of course, I would say I would add the fourth one, because I think this one, we've been talking about it for the last 15 years, but it's still happening as we talk. It's mobile first. We are at the point our data showed us that 70% of all web traffic now comes from mobile worldwide. And so we still see mobile coming, but we also see the patterns are different by geographies. The experience on mobile is not great, as we all know. So mobile is still a massive trend that enterprises and customers are going through.
So many big changes. And I recently wrote an article after finding a stat that despite all the advances in AI and technology and all these different communication tools, customer service experience scores are currently at the lowest since 1976, which completely blew my mind. And maybe our expectations are much, much higher now. That might have something to do with it. And you mentioned that battle between personalization and privacy, which is a delicate balance on its own. But can you elaborate on the cost of this online frustration that we have as users, how that impacts brands, and also how poor customer experience impacts a brand's ultimate bottom line and reputation? Because there's so much going on here too, right?
Yeah, you're right. It's a broad topic. So I'll try to be crisp. I would say what we call in the industry, in the customer experience industry, what we call frustration is really a more technical piece. Like it's not, you're trying to do an action and it's not working. For example, you're clicking on place my order and it's not working. It just won't work. So that's what we see. And the most common frustration we see across all these customers we have is we have slow load times, of course. So speed is still very important. We see rage clicks, so that's not working. What we call a rage click, it's when you click 3 times in 2 seconds on a page or a button or an action and it's not working. And then we have all what we call technically JavaScript errors. So that's technical errors which prevent you to achieve what you want. And this frustration, believe it or not, out of the trillions of interactions we have, and we monitor, we see that 41% of visits are still impacted by some level of frustration. So you could look at it glass half full. It means 3 out of 5, 60% of our experiences are flawless or friction-free, which is pretty high. But you could say, hey, still in 2024, we still have 41% of customers who are visits, which are customers we describe as with frustration. I think, and now if I go back to your point about what's the impact of having a poor customer experience, now we define the frustration. I would categorize it in 3 things: financials, impact on customer loyalty, and the brand, your brand and a perception and an image. I think revenue loss is obvious. If customers leave your website, cart abandonment, blah, 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 it impacts your top line. You also wasted money. You invested in paid search or paid social to attract customers to your website. And if they don't convert, if they don't transact, that's loss. That impacts your bottom line. You spend money for nothing. So this one is pretty obvious. The second one is customer loyalty and retention. Obviously, yes, if you don't have a great experience, you're unlikely to recommend, you're unlikely to come back. And I think this one is especially important now, because I don't know if you've seen on your webcast, but the cost of acquisition online has been going up for the last 5 or 6 years. I think last year it was 9%. So it costs you more to acquire a digital customer. And so that's why it's even more important to make sure customers visiting you, they stay and they transact. And the third one, obviously, is the brand perception and impact. Customer expectations are rising. The bar is always rising. So it's not, there's no final destination. It's kind of a journey. And so you have to make sure you deliver according to their expectations. And we see it that the brand perception is very important. We see it our first customers industry, I would say, at Contentsquare were really retailers and e-commerce companies. They wanted to improve their conversion rates. But the second largest industry now is luxury brands. And for luxury brands, it's not so much about sales online. It's really about customer experience, your brand, seeing your products in a very friction-free, smooth-face way. And so that's why. So they see the experience online as being very, very important.
So many important points there, especially around the cost of acquiring new customers against retaining an existing customer. It's something we don't talk about enough. And obviously, AI is the flavor of the month or maybe year. But I'm curious, how are you at Contentsquare leveraging AI to help enhance customer experiences? Because we will have a lot of people listening that maybe they're sat on that fence thinking, well, what does AI mean to us and what should we be doing next? So just to bring it to life, do you have any examples of how AI-driven insights can better transform digital interactions? What are you seeing here?
Well, you can't have a tech discussion if we don't talk about AI today. So yes, of course, we've been thinking a lot about AI for the last 24 months. I think our approach has been very much about, hey, let's go beyond the hype or the bubbly aspect of AI we are currently going through, and let's say, hey, it's a fantastic technology. How can it change our user experience or customer experience? So we've been very much focused about what we call practical AI. Let's make it centered around the user. And so we just announced a couple of innovations, just to give you one or two concrete examples. We just announced in London, by the way, 3 months ago, we just announced some AI innovations. For example, we have what we call sentiment analysis and customer feedback processing. So customers give you feedback about their experience. You do NPS surveys and so on. And so through AI, you can summarize the survey results. You can even generate surveys and polls almost automatically. It's pretty impressive. So that's how we make the life of our users and customer easier. We also just launched, this one is very impressive. I'd love to do a demo at one point. We just launched a virtual assistant, a copilot, which is behind it. It's OpenAI and ChatGPT, but basically you can ask your questions in natural language, like, hey, can you show me the traffic trend for the last 2 years and break it down by countries? And then automatically the Contentsquare and the tool will give you the answer. And this natural language, it will automatically generate titles. So again, you get the idea. It's really to make sure we simplify your life and we make you more efficient. I can even see a world, that's what we're doing today. We are also exploring, thinking more long-term, like, hey, and we talked a little bit about personalization. Tomorrow, can we have a website which is personalized by user, almost each user based on who he is, what he's doing, his context? Can he has a different experience on the website? Can we do a dynamic and a content generation based on each user? And so our tool, AI, and our tools and data at one point will enable us maybe to do that. So here I'm going more looking forward, but just to give you an idea of what we're working on and thinking about.
And something else that put you on my radar and why I was excited to get you on the podcast today was your work on the Contentsquare Digital Experience Benchmark Report. So I've got to ask, from your work on that, what were the most surprising findings about the current state of digital retail? And was there anything that surprised you in that? And how can businesses use that data to improve their strategies? Because I would imagine that you've seen most things before and you know those trends inside out. But was there anything that really did take you by surprise?
Yeah, well, yes, kind of. I think the key word is surprise, as you said. But yes, some of them. Just for the listeners, our benchmark is an annual survey we do on all these websites we have, and we have 43 billion sessions and 200 billion pages. We analyze this across 3,600 websites. So that gives you a good proxy of what's happening on the internet. But to come back to your question, surprise findings, I would say, I think we talked about it, but for me, the fact that 40% of site visits are not delivering a great experience. They still have frictions. We're in 2024. I'm an old guy, not old. Don't think I'm old, but I've been in the business for 25 years. We talked about the internet started in 1999 was the first web. So how come like 40% of experiences are still not at the right level of expectation? I think for me, it's still a surprise. Another one, which is you have to trust the data. What we see is like paid search. We've been talking about paid search and paid social media and to attract new users, but paid search is still king, despite everything we said about social media. And to be more specific, what we see is like paid search attracts far more. And when I say paid search, I hope it's clear. It's Google, people going on Google, for example, or Bing and doing queries to say about a product. And people versus paid media and displaying paid media and social networks. And the traffic from paid search visitors on our customer website, it converts 4 times more than paid social. So it just tells you, paid social media as a role, of course, but paid search for conversion and e-commerce is still king. And probably the last one, and being an international citizen, French, living in the US, having lived in Singapore, it's a bit of cliche, but internet, the web, it's kind of universal everywhere, but some cultural differences, some cliches are very stubborn. And just to give you an idea, for example, and it's funny, we see it, the Germans, they will read all the terms and conditions. They are the country which are going to scroll down all the way down to the web pages. They are the only countries doing that. The French will be more frustrated more quickly. And I'm not saying grumpy, but probably that's what they are in Asia. And we all know that it's only about mobile. So it's still surprising to see. We think it's cliche, but there is some truth behind it. And we see it in the data, in our data.
And I'm curious, in your view of everything that you've seen, all the conversations you had, what are the biggest challenges facing online retailers today, especially when it comes to customer experience and equally user experience as well for the consumers, which we all are?
I think I briefly touched upon it. I do believe customer retention, biggest challenges and opportunities retaining your customer or your visitor, if it's not yet a customer, given what we said about acquiring cost of traffic and acquiring new customers. And we all know in the business, and we love to talk about customer lifetime value and its combination of new customers, how much you sell, what's the price, and you can sell to them, and then it's also how much you can retain them. And that's why it's so important. So I think everything we said before, like making sure you can deliver this great experience consistent across website, mobile, wherever customers are, anywhere, anytime on any device is still critical. And to do that, that's more an internal thing. What we realize is you need inside your enterprise, your company, you need to build the teams, you need to build the culture, you need to build the processes and tools that enable you to do that, to have this learning culture where you learn, you look at data, you take action, you iterate fast, you're curious. And it's, as I said, it's a journey. It never ends. Customer, it's changing, tech is changing, but also customer expectations are rising every day. So I think for me, that's probably the two biggest challenges, building the culture and teams that support that and making sure you can retain and delight your customers.
And I think another challenge, which we also alluded to earlier, was that balance between privacy and personalization. And for the large part, I think we all expect personalization as standard now. Netflix knows what we want to watch, Spotify knows what we want to listen to, and Amazon knows what we want to buy. So we carry that expectation with us everywhere. So how do you see that role of personalization continuing to evolve in digital customer experiences? And are there any effective strategies for brands listening that they can help them personalize interactions at scale without drifting into creepy territory?
Yeah, I think you said the key part is, before going into some trends we are seeing, I think balancing personalization and data privacy and protecting your data is the act,
Yeah.
And I think every company I'm talking to, anyone us, including us, we're struggling to do that. And customer is interesting. Well, I think we're all talking from both sides of our mouth, if I can say that.
Yeah.
We're being very human beings here as consumers, striking this balance by geography with different rules is an interesting one. But I'll put that aside, but I want to keep that in mind because I think that's really at the heart of most of the discussion we're having. But otherwise on personalization, assuming you can find strike this right balance, I would say you need a very strong data platform. So you can without data, it's just another opinion. So you need data on what your customer segments and et cetera wants. AI, we talked about it. AI is being a massive boost and disruption in the way we are doing personalization. I talked about some of the way we talked about AI and beyond AI, it's even thinking about how do I connect the different silos in the enterprise? And AI can help. Hey, there's nothing worse, for example, to receive an automated email asking you for a satisfaction survey for a product you did buy, but you also did return the next day. So that's where AI can really help. I talked about it also, dynamic content on the website. If we're able to personalize more and more content tailored to your needs, that would be great. But also, and that's where, again, customers, there is a balancing act. You want personalization, but you also want to be able to discover new things. You don't want to show always the same content. I don't know for you, but on Spotify or Netflix, I hate it when I see always the same kind of movies. Sometimes I want to be free to explore and see different things. So there is also a balancing act. There's a bit of it. I want personalized content, but don't box me. So I can keep going, but I think the AI, leveraging data-driven insights, being very dynamic content, and I go back to the culture, building this culture. I don't think we can't be know-it-all. So being curious, listening, having this learning culture, A/B testing, and so on is probably the foundation for all of that.
Yeah, 100% with you. I think those magical moments of serendipity where you stumble across something that you shouldn't like, but just kind of captures something in you. I'm very much like that with entertainment, whether it be films, books, or music. You don't just want to be spoon-fed the same again and again and again. There's no fun in that at all. And looking forward again, I mean, given your background with Microsoft and obviously now Contentsquare, have you seen the approach to digital customer experience evolve over the years? Have there been any major shifts that have stood out to you?
Yes, of course, plenty. But I would say probably the biggest shift for me has been how the expectation and the way consumer consume content or buy is different between regions. And for example, it's mostly, North America, Europe, and Asia. And I've lived across. It's been interesting to see how it's been converging and diverging, you say? Yes.
Yeah.
And splitting it the same way. And of course, everyone cares about pricing, low prices, convenience, omnichannel, et cetera, we talked about. But let me give you some specific example. For example, in Europe, the focus on sustainability. European customers and consumers, they place a strong emphasis on sustainability and ethical practices. They are driving demand for more eco-friendly products, transparent supply chain, and so on and so on. It's very clear in Europe. It's not as big. It's happening, but it's not as big in the rest of the world. Privacy also is probably much more important in Europe than in the rest of the world. If you look at China, I think China has been fascinating for the last 10 years. It's totally a mobile-first commerce region. And all the major innovations are happening in China, but some of them only stay in China. Thinking about live stream shopping, it's fascinating to see. Or social commerce, they are very highly popular. I don't think they have really took off in the rest of the world, like in China. And in US, if I have to pick one, US is probably more about convenience and speed, even more important than the rest of the world. It's important for everyone, but rest of the world, that's in the US that Amazon invented same-day delivery, subscription coming. So in the US, they value the convenience and speed. So for me, seeing how, as a company, being able to see this same pattern sometimes, but also diverging needs is fascinating. It's also another challenge also.
Love that. For everyone listening, I always try and finish the podcast by giving them a valuable takeaway, something they can action or something useful that they can use. So for any business leader listening that they're looking and trying to stay ahead in this competitive digital landscape, what would you say are the essential steps that they should take to optimize their customer experience while also reducing online frustration and getting that balance right? Any tips that you would offer there?
Can I say go to contentsquare.com and try our product? So, but joke aside, we are a small part, but important part of it. Joke aside, I think for me, it's all about thinking about, at the end of the day, it's all about people, processes, and tools. And we talked about it, but building a culture, this learning culture where customer is experience at the center of your goals, how you work, and this learning and testing culture is for me is critical. The processes to support this culture and knowing it's a journey, not a destination. You will never arrive on customer experience. So you have to stay very on board. And finally, we talk about the tools. And I think on the tools, as much as we love data, and I love data, it's also an art and a science. You need the science part, you need all this data, but there's still an art also in selling or engaging with customers. There's still an art piece. So that's why you need quantitative and qualitative feedback. And so again, it's a balancing act between people, processes, and these tools you have. So that would be my nugget of wisdom.
Love it. And I'm not going to stop there as well. I always like to have a bit of fun with my guests and ask them to leave one final gift of insight for everyone listening. And that is either a song to add to our Spotify playlist. It can be anything at all. Guilty pleasures are allowed, and we'll add that to a Spotify playlist, or a book to add to an Amazon wish list that you would recommend. I don't mind which, but what would you like to leave everyone with and why?
I'm an avid music listener. I'm an avid Depeche Mode fan. So I would say I really love Just Can't Get Enough. I love it personally, but you can't get enough data. You can't get enough insight. So pun intended.
What a great choice. I'll get that added straight to the Spotify playlist. And for everyone listening, wanting to find out more about Contentsquare and find out more about you, your team, or anything we talked about today, including that report, where would you like to point everyone listening?
Love www.contentsquare.com.
So I'll add the link to everything that you've mentioned there, including the flagship event where people can maybe follow online. And for everyone listening, I think I, for one, have enjoyed talking with you today and learning about the customer experience latest trends, the role of AI in good customer experience, and some of the human challenges behind this, a CX-centered organization. I'd love people listening to share their insights on what they thought and how they're battling with some of the challenges that you mentioned. But thank you for starting this conversation today.
Thank you, Neil.
So as we wrap up our conversation with JC today, I think several important insights have emerged. The digital customer experience landscape is evolving rapidly. Yet, challenges like friction that cause frustration during user interactions and balancing personalization with privacy all remain significant. And yes, AI offers promising solutions, from refining sentiment analysis to creating dynamic and personalized content, but it's clear that human element to building a customer-centric culture and understanding the nuances of global markets, these are the things that equally play a crucial role in delivering outstanding customer experiences. So if we reflect on today's discussion, I want you to consider how your organization is approaching customer experience. How are you going to leverage AI to remove friction and personalize interactions? How are you going to address the growing importance of privacy? So as we move forward, I think these questions will be essential in navigating the future of customer experiences, and it's something we all need to learn from each other on. So don't try and do it on your own, please. Share with me your insights, the lessons that you have learned along the way too. So, as always, email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, just at Neil C. Hughes. Please continue the conversation with me. And if you want to come on here or have a question you'd like to ask me, you can do all that stuff too. But thank you for joining me today on this deep dive into the latest trends and challenges in CX. And I hope you've gained valuable insights to help you elevate your own customer experiences. But let me know. It's time for me to get out of here now, though. So I'll return it into your podcast feed bright and early tomorrow morning. And hopefully I will speak to each and every one of you again. See you all in the morning.